welcome to Up Close with Carlos Sang, celebrating art, entertainment, and the human spirit. Welcome to another episode of Up Close with Carlos Sang. My next guest is one of my favourite West End leading ladies at the moment. She has previously starred in The Curious Case of Benjamin Button the Musical, Indecent, Fiddler on the Roof, as well as star in the brand new show Laughing Boy at Jermyn Street Theatre. It's a huge delight to be able to introduce the incredible Molly Osborne. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to meet you. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, I feel like every time I've seen you, you've always been in this like really like enclosed space, places like the Menier Chocoalate Factory and Southwark Playhouse, and now of course, Jermyn Street Theatre. What is it that, keeps drawing you to these, really tiny, intimate venues?
Totally. It's never something that I'd sort of, growing up, I was like, I want to be in the big West End theatres, and sort of, you have this dream of what theatre is in quote marks, and I was lucky enough to audition at the Menier and be a part of Fiddler on the Roof initially, and discovered this way of telling stories where you really can breathe with the audience and sort of particularly with something like Indecent, where you kind of are really looking at the audience and sharing things with them, how intimate storytelling experience that can be. That opened up a whole world for me, and particularly with Jermyn Street Theatre, I've never done anything that's as intimate as that. So I'm really, really excited to be there. It's such a wonderful team that run the theatre, and yeah, it's really, really a privilege to be part of this production.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you say, Jermyn Street is like even more like intimate than somewhere like the Menier or just stuff like Playhouse. Had you visited Jermyn Street before? Were you fairly familiar with the work that they produced there too?
Yes, well, literally, I had just been to see the good John Proctor. My very good friend Anna Fordham was in that, so that was the first time I'd been to the theatre. And then I sort of got an audition for this, and I couldn't believe I'd never been there before. It's such a wonderful space that's so well looked after and so personal, in who works there and who knows the space. And yeah, so yeah, it I sort of discovered it within the last year actually. I'm now lucky enough to play there.
Yeah, it's a really gorgeous place. I completely agree. And Laughing Boy, it's based on a true story. It's a really powerful and raw true story too. Were you fairly familiar with Sara Ryan and her experience and campaign for justice, for her son who died sadly in care?
Yeah, I had seen bits in the news at the time that it was happening. I had no idea how large the campaign was. I had no idea that the campaign was to just to get accountability. It was an inquest to get the right answer. It sort of wasn't even like a sort of extra law case to try and get something extra. It was literally fighting for the truth, which is just sort of mind-boggling. And sort of myself and a few members in this company we've all been saying how much of an honor it is to be a part of this, and to be the family have come in and shared their stories with us, and they've been so brave in their telling the story, not only to us but also just throughout the 10 years since this has happened, with the media and in Sarah, she's writing her book and writing her blog. um I feel like I am learning so much from being a part of it that I did not understand how entrenched some of these problems are, even now. And so, yeah, I'm learning a lot from being a part of it, and it's shining a light on so many ignorances that I've had up until this point, which is amazing, and is why we come to the theatre. It's and that's what I think is so special about this piece, is that it really just it lifts a story that has it lifts a true story that has been told through the medium of a book. It has been told through yeah, blogging and through newspaper articles, but we're sort of lifting it in a very honoring way and bringing it forwards into this playing field that is a new way to share it. and that's really, really special. But yeah, I was very, you know, I'm learning so much from being a part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a really incredible story. And is and because it's a true story as well, is there a particular pressure on you guys as well on, making sure that you tell the story in a particular way too?
Totally. Not from anyone else. I think any pressure that anyone's feeling, we're all sort of putting on ourselves, as you do with any kind of true story, really. I remember feeling similarly with Indecent, actually, that how it's a testament to a good character of a person, I suppose, that everyone in this company really wants to honor it and do it justice and to bring it to the stage in a way that is respectful and is true. And so I think, yeah, it's our work sort of cut out for us in that way, and that is the kind of work that makes you. That is why we've sort of want to be in this industry in the first place. So it's definitely, yeah, definitely. There's the want to do it right. But I know that Stephen, wonderful Stephen, who's written the adaptation and who is directing us, we're in very safe hands with each other and with him and with this whole company. So I know that we're all being steered in the right way.
Yeah, I mean, you're working with a very esteemed company. You've got people like, Forbes Mason and Janie Dee in the company, of course. What have rehearsals been like so far? What have those conversations been like, on bringing the story to the stage?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I love this company, first of all. It's a really, really wonderful group of people, very kind, very creative group of people. And it's such a pleasure to watch folks like Forbes and Janie kind of take the script and be mindful of what some audiences who have never heard of the campaign before, what reads and what doesn't. How can we present this in the best way possible? How can we make this lean? Where should we breathe this bit? Where should we sort of really rattle through this bit? How much of the sort of political and technical jargon do we need? Kind of really looking at the piece as it's morphing and molding into a piece of theatre and how that can best translate to audiences and how we can best reach everyone. That's sort of been a really main focus, and watching everyone kind of negotiate that and navigate that has been really beautiful. And I really love watching that unfold in a rehearsal room.
Yeah, of course. It's interesting as well because obviously you made your debut in Fiddler on the Roof, and towards the end of that run, you got Maria Friedman joining the company, and of course Sonia Friedman was producing it. How's it now been working with Alfie Friedman as well too, by the way?
Yes, I met Alfie, yeah, when we did Fiddler, and I always feel like we're the same age because he's such a wonderful young man, and it's so lovely to have met somebody. I mean, that was like 5 years ago, maybe. I don't know actually. Um, and sort of meet him as a young man, and now and his career is like, and so working with him is a real joy and a real privilege. He is just gorgeous in this piece. Um, and I remember when Maria came in to do Fiddler, we were all like, "Oh my God, like this is the most fabulous thing to happen." And I was really trying to sort of keep cool, really, and um, yeah, that really is so lovely to remember that. Um, yeah, working with Alfie that's such a lovely full circle in a weird way. Yeah.
You've worked pretty consistently, as you say, over the last, 5 to 6 years. And you've done so much, incredible work, whether that be, Indecent or, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. Do you feel like, you've now assumed, the role of an elder, when joining a company, and, do people come to you with advice now too?
That's a really good question. I feel like I can feel a shift happening. I think when I first joined Fiddle on the Roof, I was 21, and I very much have lived as sort of as like young person in the company, looking up to everyone, which I kind of hope will always happen and will always be. We're always kind of helping each other and looking up to and admiring certain people, learning from people who are older than us, younger than us. Kind of feels fluid to me in that way. But I definitely feel that kind of as I go into sort of my late 20s, that a sort of responsibility to really use your voice in the room, and a realization that there has been time passed since sort of being a deer in headlights, and growing into that kind of a space where you can offer a helping voice to this person or advice to this person. I'm growing into it, I suppose, which is I've literally only clocked it sort of in the last year, really. But yeah, that's I don't I still don't know anything. I I'm always looking up to everyone, sort of whatever age they are, and always learn something from every job, and that's a real privilege.
Yeah, I did want to ask you a bit about Indecent as well, because I remember coming to see it, when it came back to the Menier, and I was just so blown away by that whole production. It was so powerful and felt so so real and so authentic and everything. How was it, getting to, come in and do that show, 8 times a week and, telling this incredible story?
Paula Vogel and Rebecca Teichman, who created that, and the whole original company of it, whose shoulders we were standing on in terms of a lot of the decisions and technicalities and choreography, and so many years of workshopping all of these things that really made it slick and beautiful and gave it that groundwork for to enable the story to be elevated sort of underneath it. Um, it was incredible. And that said, Rebecca always and Paula, they always gave us the chance to do something new and to have a go at this fresh and not follow, the book. And there was a really great balance of trusting the work that had already been done and allowing us to play and be free with this really beautiful play. I loved meeting the team for that and working with the team. I couldn't believe that we got to come back after the pandemic to do it. I was so devastated. We did three previews as did everyone in town and everyone around the UK, like with UK theatre, like it. We did three performances and then it was go home, and a year and a half later we came back and sort of were like, okay, everyone came back, all of the creatives came back. That was really magical. And I think to do it at the Menier as well, that is its own kind of, has its own attic kind of feel, and that really intimate space, and it really has a history that matches the place so well. And yeah, it was a really magical time, and I'm still really close with some of the company members. Al Silber in particular, I saw her quite recently, and she's one of those hugely influential people in my life, in particularly in life and in career. Yeah, it was a really, really wonderful experience.
Yeah, it was a really wonderful show. Did you have any sort of like reservations about doing it, given how, it explores, Jewish history and, anti-Semitism and of course the rain scene at the end as well?
No, I think initially I had sort of thought about maybe trying to go and try pilot season in LA, around the time that it was going to be rehearsing. And I spoke to my agents and I was like, now we're going to try and do this, and to save up, and now I've got the money, and like maybe we should try and do that, and I'll come out to LA and I'll try and do like a month or something. One of these like pipe dream sort of things. And this came along, and I had a few friends who were auditioning for it, and I read the play and I saw the very sneaky, cheeky recording of it that's on YouTube. And I just absolutely fell in love with it until the Menier were calling, and they were calling, and until we sort of eventually turned around and were like, oh, I've got to be seen for this. Like I need to go in and be, I need, I really need to be a part of this. And unfortunately they said yes. And so I mean, that's amazing, isn't it? The material just really jumped out, and I just totally jumped in. I really, really was so attracted to it and thought it was just so beautiful and so smart and clever and slick. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've worked pretty extensively at the Mania. You started off, doing Fiddler, and then you went on to do Indecent. I also actually came to see the Sex Party as well, afterwards, which I actually really enjoyed. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I thought it was so, it felt so relevant, and I felt like the conversations in the show felt so genuine as well. And I felt like, I could see quite vividly who each of the characters were. And I just thought it was so
Right.
interesting to see it play in that space too. How did you find that experience, working on that show as well?
Yeah, totally. I was very attracted to the script when I first read it for that very reason that it feels very relevant and it feels important, particularly with a writer like Terry, who is so clever and so funny, to put this in the setting of ridiculing ignorance in this area. I thought was really, really smart and very clever, um, very funny. Um, and yeah, I mean, it was a real experience doing that. We had so much back and forth with obviously it being an original play and having the writer in the room, what can be changed, and the sort of possibilities are endless with where you can go with the piece, with who's a part of it, who's been cast, and um, it was a real journey, and bringing it to audiences at the Menier was very, very interesting. And we had people coming to see the play who were like, I've really struggled. My child is sort of going through this, and our family going through this. That my child is trans, and I don't know what to do about it. But watching this play has really helped me to sort of understand it. People are saying things that I have said, even though they're wrong, but it's part of my process of understanding it. And yeah, it was a very, very interesting play to be part of. And again, I've made some really, really close friends from doing that, and I learned a lot about myself as an actor, and as somebody who has a voice in the room. Yeah, it was a really, really interesting experience. I'm so glad I did was a part of that, because it's sort of strengthened that voice for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, the Sex Party as well, was one of the first times we really got to see you do a fully straight play, with no music. How did you find that experience, going to do, a play? Did you find that the disciplines and the demands were particularly different too?
Yeah, I really enjoyed doing a play. I loved doing that. Definitely, I think that particularly with the length of the scenes, I guess just the structure of the piece was very, very different. And um, as well, it being a comedy play, that um, sort of learning, Terry was sort of I felt like I was sort of workshopping how to do comedy, and the cadences of a line, and how to go up at here and then you land it here, and that's the full stop, and then bang, you laugh, and it's so I that was really, really interesting to to learn a lot of techniques like that about sort of text and the rise and fall of a scene. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, last year with Benjamin Button, which, I think just broke everybody's hearts. Um,
Yeah.
but-
It does,
uh,
doesn't it? It breaks you.
yeah, I mean, it was such a beautiful, beautiful show, watching you and Jamie Parker, do those scenes. Yeah, how did you find it, approaching that character as well, and telling such a unique story too?
Absolutely. That show has a real special place in my heart. We all kind of just grew it nice and slowly from the beginning, particularly Jamie and I just feel like we didn't put any pressure on it, and kind of just let it simmer and grow in a way that it became, which was a really beautiful thing. And I'd never done an Actor Muso show before, so working with this incredible company of Actor Musos was such a delight. I was just looking around this room watching somebody singing while they're, you know, like playing the fiddle, while they're playing the cello, while they're playing this, that, and that, picking up different instruments and driving the story forwards. I could not believe the talent in the room. There was something really magic about the rehearsal process, and about how kind and sharing everyone is. I um I hadn't known a company to be that kind of vulnerable and honest and kind in the way that that company was. And I think it kind of it kind of took everyone's guard down a bit, and I think that's what made the piece so raw and special, that it did feel like it was alive every night, and that we were really looking after a story very carefully together, that there was always the sort of so much presence with it. Yeah, it really is very, very special show.
Yeah, definitely. And it was so unlike, any other musical on the West End at the time. It very much incorporates that folk music element, which is so special. And it worked so well as well. Did you know that it was going to be such a hit with audiences when you signed up to do it?
Well, seeing Jamie Parker in the audition, like memo, I was like, oh my God, I was like, okay, this is a big deal. But a year prior to that, I'd actually been called in just for 2 days to workshop um, changes that Jethro and Darren had done since the 2019 production.
Mm.
So I spent 2 days with them, um, with another actor, and so I'd sort of become familiar with the piece and kind of met the piece because I didn't see it in 2019, regretfully. And so I kind of met it a year prior to auditioning for it. So I kind of knew that it was a really special thing, and particularly because it's in the hands of people like Jethro and Darren, who are really just incredibly wonderful people and incredibly wonderful creatives. Yeah, I think I kind of knew that there was something really, really special about just the writing anyway. So when it came about a year later, I thought, ooh, and then I saw that Jamie Parker was doing it, and I thought, oh, and I sort of was in the audition. I was like, oh, wow, this is this is really special. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and the show is of course coming back later in the year as well. Do we reckon that you will get to see you involved, or will you be going to see it as well, or?
All to be revealed. I'm so thrilled that it is happening, and it deserves to be there, and it deserves everyone to go and see it and watch this incredible group of people tell this very beautiful story. I think it as a piece, it's so clever because you can kind of, so many people can come and watch it and kind of see themselves in it, and it's kind of universal in that way because it has this kind of magical realism
Mm.
element to it, that you can kind of watch it and kind of feel that you are in it. You can put yourself in Benjamin's shoes, or there's so much relatable about his experience, and in terms of how we feel about ourselves and how we accept ourselves or reject ourselves and deny ourselves things. And yeah, so it's go and see it. You have to go and see it.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I think it will be really elevated by the fact that it's in the West End, and I can't wait. I can't wait for what will come.
Yeah, totally. And all of these characters that you've played, during your career, they've all been so vivid and been so compelling to watch as well. Do you feel like you've taken anything away from any of these characters that you've played too, and made do you look at life differently?
Oh my gosh, yes, definitely. Strong women. I feel like I look up to the characters, some of these characters that I've been fortunate enough to be a vessel for. Particularly like Elowen is a great example of that kind of strength of self and fiction. And similarly with Indecent, actually, it's such an honor to play really strong women who are funny and unapologetic about who they are, and that's something that I definitely am learning from as a person, because it sort of highlights these things that I sort of sort of I'm trying to muster forwards in myself, to sort of to get it right. So yeah, that's definitely one of the key things I'd say I've
Yeah,
learned from these characters.
yeah. And coming to Laughing Boy now, what has it been like, connecting with the character of Rosie and discovering who this character is too?
Yeah, similarly, Rosie is a very, very strong young woman. Um, I am I'm going to reach out to her soon, and hopefully have a Zoom with her. I'm sort of waiting till I've gathered all of the questions I possibly could, because I sort of don't want to like waste anyone's time. But yeah, I've spoken to the family, and Rosie is a fierce protector, and and all of these members of the family, all of the siblings were so young when all of this happened. So there's a real strength to Rosie, and I'm very excited to meet her friends, and meet the rest of the family, and all of the people who were and are involved in this campaign, who will come and see this. That's really exciting. I think we're trying to bring just the essence of who they are, rather than trying to imitate anyone. Just sort of bringing forward real key aspects of who they are, that are integral to the story. Um, yeah, Rosie definitely fits into that strong woman character.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that you're also going to be doing a week in Bath as well after your run in Jermyn Street. Is it exciting as well, getting to do regional theatre as well?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It was. I was super excited that was a part of the project. I've been to Bath a couple of times, and I've only been to the theatre once, actually, to see the score. There's a few people from Benjamin Button were in that. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's one of those bucket list things, I guess. And like, I'd love to tour more and experience that. Yeah, so yeah, I'm very excited for Bath. It'll be great, and I think it will play differently, because it's a whole different space, and be different sort of audiences outside of London, and yeah, that will be really interesting to see what happens then.
Yeah, we're definitely all really looking forward to it. Just as the last question, what do you hope audiences will take away with them when they come and see Laughing Boy?
I hope that they will feel inspired to speak up and fight for what is right. What Sarah and her family have achieved and continue to achieve in this campaign is so profoundly inspiring and brave, so brave. So I think people will come and really be blown away by the story in that sense. And I also think that people will come away laughing. I think it's a very funny, very heartfelt, um, joyful, joyful story and celebration of Connor, and of folks like Connor, who this has happened to. It's sort of an honouring, and it's also um, very uplifting at the same time. There's a great balance of that in the play. So I hope that people come and feel that they can be a part of this campaign as well, that they can use their voice for change.
Oh, absolutely. Molly Osborne, it's been such a pleasure talking to you.
Such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.